order the April 21st, 2026 meeting of the Common Council at 5:31. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Mayor Bunting.
Here.
Councilmember Lopez Gamboa.
Here.
Councilmember Waltrusa.
Here.
Councilmember McHugh. Councilmember Lopez Shu.
Here.
Councilmember Carson.
Here.
Councilmember Nelson.
Here.
Councilmember Marks.
Here.
Councilmember Matheson.
Here. Thank you. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you all for being here tonight. We're on to the mayor's remarks section, and I have a few things to make note before we get to the other business of the meeting. In no particular order, but in the order of my notes at least. A couple of announcements. Tomorrow, I will be joining the Osceola County Chamber Director, Sean Lewis, in recognizing Corning on their 175th year anniversary. 55 years here in the city of Oneonta, and they employ 205 people at their location here in Oneonta. So a remarkable thing for them, and glad that they invited me and Sean Lewis to participate in the celebration. So I'll be there tomorrow with Corning. Later on this week is Arbor Day, and we'll be celebrating that with a tree planting ceremony and a proclamation at Greater Plains School at 11 a.m. Hope you can join. If you know what I mean, it's 1 year too late for any of my girls to be there, but I get to go back to Greater Plains, so that's exciting for Arbor Day. The next day, Sunday, if I have my dates right, is April 26th. I see a couple SUNY folks. I'm looking at Angie back there. Is History Day at SUNY. I got my dates right. Oneonta History Day, New York History Day, sorry. At SUNY Oneonta at 3:45 is the displays, the public viewing of the displays, and the award ceremony is at 5 p.m. Hope it's open to the public. Hope everyone can come. It's pretty exciting that History Day across New York State, everyone is convening in Oneonta. At SUNY Oneonta, I think for the 5th or 6th time now. So that looks like a very exciting day to see what the students are putting forward on their history projects. Also, Construction, the fundraiser and awareness event at the mall is being taken down on Sunday, the 26th. So hopefully there's time for you to go there. It's raising food, quite a bit of poundage of food, going to the local food pantries, fundraising and awareness to the efforts that they're doing. Hopefully you can go there. Some nice creative displays of cans. Next, I've already spoken to Scott Harrington about this, but I will be absent from the next meeting on May 5th. My professional responsibilities will require me to be on the road from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so I will not be at that meeting, but Scott Harrington will be running the meeting on that day. Last is, tonight is exciting, I think, for a number of reasons. One, we'll have a presentation from FOF and the Splash Pad project, which is very exciting for Oneonta. But also exciting for Oneonta is that on the agenda, this is a bit of a streak, I feel, in that we have, where is it on the agenda? On the front page there, on the consent agenda, we have 2 students who will be joining commissions. They're both from Harvard College. Madeline Rodiger, who is here tonight, will be joining the public service, if approved. And she'll be replacing Charles Hartley, who is leaving, who's moving away, and so resigning his seat. Sorry. So Madeline will be filling that term, and is a student at Harvard College and wants to be a lawyer. So this will be a good experience for her. Addison Havens will be joining the Commission on Community Relations and Human Rights to fill a term from Sarah, a Harvard graduate as of a couple weeks. So a Harvard student will be graduated and moving on, and we have another Harvard student coming in. And then lastly, speaking of Harvard graduates, we have Josephine Becker, who just graduated from Harvard College, and will be joining the Housing Commission to fill a vacancy there. So it seems like Harvard has been well represented in the last 2 agendas and joining the commission. So I thank them for their service. And it's not that Harvard will be the only institution. I hope we'll get some SUNY students as well. But it's exciting that these students have stepped forward. And thanks in part to the work that the Institute for Public Service at Harvard College does to engage young voters in our community. So thank you for stepping forward and being part of the city. And that will be on the agenda here in a few minutes. So those are the end of my remarks. We'll move on to public hearings, which I don't see any scheduled. Yeah,
Could you give the time and location at the History Day event at SUNY?
yes, I will. It's, public viewing is at 3:45, from 3:45 to 4:45, and the award ceremony is at 5 p.m.
And the location?
I have it as Chase Gym. Correct, yes.
Thank you.
The nods help, thank you. Good question, thank you. Okay, now, I don't see any public hearings scheduled, so we'll move to petitioners. This is the first opportunity to address the council if you so choose. If you choose to speak now, then you will please state your name, your connection to the city, and then you'll have 3 minutes to address the council. Anyone like to speak now? That's okay. There will be a second opportunity at the end of the agenda. If you think of something between now and then, we'd be happy to hear from you. Okay. Correspondence, is there any correspondence?
No.
Nope, that's not, okay. Presentations, so we move quickly right to presentations. So tonight's presentation is from the Future of Oneonta Foundation, and their new chair, Gary Herzig, former mayor, will be presenting about the very special project, the splash pad that's been in the works, and it might be very close to completion. He's going to give us an update on what the project is, and thank you so much for making this happen and bringing it to the council tonight. Looking forward to hearing more about it, and we'll talk a little bit more about it after the presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. And I want to thank the mayor and I want to thank Greg. Both of them have given their full support to this project, and we wouldn't be where we are now with moving forward with it if it wasn't for both of their support. So thank you very much. Give me a few minutes to give you a little background about the Future for Oneonta Foundation, FOF. Founded in 1982, we are a 501c3 charitable foundation, and our mission is a pretty straightforward one. We are here to improve the quality of life of the people of this community. And for FOF, this community is both the city of Oneonta and the town of Oneonta, the entire Oneonta community. Historically, FOF has been known for supporting local not-for-profits. We give out as much as $40,000 a year to the local not-for-profits, as well as I think everybody is familiar with the Proctors of Merit program, which is very popular, where people who renovate houses, do a nice job, fix up the neighborhood, fix up their houses are recognized. But in recent years, we've looked to expand a bit. We've tried to embrace projects, initiatives that have a wider impact on quality of life here in the city. And the first one we did was about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, was to pave the trail that goes along the creek in Neal Park. It goes from Lower Main Street to Capella Field. If you've never taken a walk down there, or a bicycle ride, or a roller skate, do it sometime. It's actually a beautiful little trail. And it's also accessible to anybody, people with disabilities, people in a wheelchair can use it. And in the summer, it gets a lot of use, so it's nice to see. We're currently working with the farmers market, with all of the vendors at the farmers market, with the organization that oversees the farmers market, to do what we can to help them in strengthening the market, to be able to provide the people of the city with a greater diversity of the product. And hopefully that will also include finding a year-round permanent home for the farmers market. You know, these sound like little things, farmers market, trail for the park, but these are the kind of things that make a community strong. And so we're proud to be doing that. And of course, the splash pad, which is what we're here to talk about today. And that is a picture of the actual product that we're looking to install up at the Wilbur Park, at the Briggs Pool Complex up in Wilbur Park, where the kiddie pool, or it's supposed to be called a wading pool, I'm not sure, is. So let me take a minute, because I want to also introduce the members of the board that are here from the Future for Oneonta Foundation. So maybe you should take a minute to introduce yourself. No?
John Nader, I'm Vice Chair of the Board.
Al Rubin, just a member of the board.
Frank Russo.
Okay, and Angie Eichler, who, not a board member, but she's the one that does all the work. And Frank serves a dual role.
because in addition to being a member of the FOF Board of Directors, Frank partners with the city, the Y partners with the city, in running the Briggs Pool complex up there, and will be in running the splash pad once it's done. And Frank has also been instrumental in working with the city staff and working with the people that designed the project in making this happen. So we became aware a couple of years ago, I think it's Frank probably brought it to our attention, that the kiddie pool was getting old, was in need of constant repair, and was also underutilized since COVID. And there has been some requests to convert that into a splash pad, but the city's finances would not allow that going forward. It's surprisingly expensive to build a splash pad. It's close to $500,000. So FOF decided we would take it upon ourselves to see if we could help. And we have, as of today, successfully raised $430,000, which will cover the entire cost of the purchase and installation of the splash pad. Now, before you say, I didn't know that FOF had that much money, we don't. But we did this by bringing the entire community together. We had nearly 100 people in the community that donated money towards the splash pad. And we had, I want to mention, acknowledge 3 donors. I thought one of them was going to be there. Who's been? I thought that was not. Well, Brian Wright, who has always been a big supporter of recreation, supporter of the YMCA in the community, gave us a very significant donation. 5-Star Subaru, and I thought Ben was going to be here, maybe he couldn't get here. Also, and 5-Star Subaru is legendary in supporting our local not-for-profits, and as well as Al Kleiman gave us a very significant donation. In addition to that, because we're successful in bringing the community together and showing that this project is widespread community support, we were able to get New York State ESD, Economic State Development, to offer us a $100,000 grant to support this project. So with that, we have $430,000. And, you know, while it's exciting to be able to say we're ready to move forward with the splash pad project for the people of the city, it's even more exciting to be able to say that I hope that this serves as a model for how we can get things done in the community. That whether you're in government or you're in a not-for-profit or you're in business, bringing all the sectors together, bringing people together to get it done, sharing credit for getting something done is much more effective. And again, FOF, our job is only to be a convener. We brought people together to support this project, and we're proud to be able to do so. So we're at the point now where we're excited to be able to offer this as a gift to the people of the city. As we go forward, we'll now are confident that the city staff, Greg and his team, along partnering with the YMCA, are going to do all they can to see that installation takes place and hopefully has it ready for use this summer. So, thank you for all you do, for all of your support. We're excited about this, and we hope this is just the first of many projects that we can see where we bring people together to make it happen. John, you want to add anything? Al?
That covers it.
Frank?
No, I'm just excited if we can make it happen. I think it will be a huge addition to the facilities up there in Wilbur.
Questions from council?
Any questions? Just so you know, as far as timing, at the next meeting, there will be a motion as far as how we then go about doing it. Because there's still a few things to work out that we're working on right now. That's why we've had a number of interactions with Gary and Greg and other folks to try to figure out how to actually make it work logistically and mechanically through the operations of the city. So that will be distilled into a motion at the next meeting for approval. Yeah, so there's a little bit of the setting. Go ahead.
I do have a question. So this is gonna take up and I'm sorry, maybe you guys probably discussed this at Parks, but this will take up the entire footprint of the wading pool, like where the concrete pad
What
sidewalk
Frank
is
has-
around
what Frank
it? Yeah,
has
can you
said.
talk a little bit more
Yeah.
about
Well,
what's
Chris-
being replaced?
Chris
and-
probably knows better, but
Sure.
it is, people, it's not a splash park, it's a splash pad.
Right.
So that's the one thing that we should all know.
Right.
But it, it will take up the footprint of where the existing baby pool, wading pool is.
Okay.
Right, it's right about the same measurements.
Size.
And we don't have to change anything so that it makes it work
Cool.
without having to get other kinds of approvals.
So that would be my follow-up question. When you had initially brought this to whatever committee that was a year ago, I think it might have been, was it finance or was it quality of life?
Quality of life.
Okay. Anyway, a few years ago, or a year ago, when you guys started talking about this, first let me say, I'm so excited that this is actually happening. Because sometimes ideas bubble up and they're very exciting and we all get excited about them and then, they don't come to fruition for one reason or another. So kudos for really championing this and seeing it through. It's gonna be huge for our community, for our families and young kids, and, it's more accessible. So I'm really excited about that. I wanted to know, because I had wondered at the time if there was any way that the city could, I don't know, help with the project, right? And we were talking about possibly, my question is it scalable? Is it something that if in the future we had resources to make it more of a splash park, like where the pines are or the pavilion is now, something like that to make it larger? Is the design that you've selected and the mechanical, I'm sure it would need upgrading, but I'm just wondering if in the future there's potential to grow this
Well,
into something that could be more of a destination.
Yeah, I know we talked about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's other things that, that would have to be looked into if
Sure.
you change the footprint.
Sure.
And I know the water system's in there, and like I said, Chris and them have actually worked more on this spec part of it.
Okay.
We would always hope that we could add to something.
Right, yeah.
And maybe this is a model for what we can do in the future.
Yeah,
But you might be limited to other restrictions, not necessarily just what we wanna buy for a water park. Because once you get out of that footprint, like I said, it opens up different things that you're gonna have to discuss as a city.
right. I guess I was wondering if those things had been addressed, just because, it's awesome and, we wanna keep investing in the things, the assets that we have, just like we're building this at the pool and stuff somewhere else. So I was just curious if that had been talked about, but
It's always been in the discussion of,
Yeah.
can we do more?
Yeah,
I do think, just to follow up what you say though, I do think this is a win for the city and the community overall, and to know that you're bringing something up like that shows that the willingness of the council or the city officials to support projects of this nature create more wins for the community. So it could hopefully create a ripple effect of other organizations or other groups or other individuals that want to do similar things within the community to create that kind of vibe and that kind of energy. Could potentially, if the city shows that kind of support and Greg and all the people involved continue on as we finish through this project, I think that alone could create some sort of spark to get more people involved in projects like this. Yeah.
I didn't see one first.
I think Carol's.
Okay, all right.
Or no, actually, let's just do it.
I think over here. Oh,
Let's go both directions at the same time.
This is not necessarily a discussion point, it's more just to reiterate the observation you made at the beginning, which was that my question was around what are the expectations for council actions regarding this?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's clear that next meeting, we're gonna be hopefully voting on something that will see something to fruition.
I don't even want to use the word hopefully, we're gonna make this on the agenda.
Okay.
It's not available tonight because there's a few of some legal questions that have to be answered, so we can write it correctly, so that when we put it to the council for a vote, that is the right way to go, so that we can then take the step in and get to work on building it.
Thank
There's
you.
just a few things to work out, which it could be on tonight, but we'll be there.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Carol's.
Okay.
I do
Councilmember
want to
Morris.
say, we did have a Parks and Recreation Commission meeting last night, although we didn't discuss the splash pad, because I
asked the commission to wait until I heard your presentation this evening. My question is there going to be a particular theme for this splash park? Have you thought about what it will look like? I know there's different types and
Maybe the
themes.
Parks and Rec
Oh,
Commission
is
could
that
come up
could be
with-
something that the Parks and Rec Commission could weigh in on?
Leave it up to the mayor.
Mayor?
I think that sounds like a Parks and Recreation Committee discussion that I would be happy to attend.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful, thank you.
Yes.
So thanks for all the work, really appreciate it. I'm glad when this was brought up on quality of life, 'cause I remember sitting here. I was like, here's a great idea that, you know, hopefully we can get done. And thank you guys for really spearheading and doing this. Just the significant amount of this gift, I guess here's my ignorance with it. How much does it cost to maintain? How much should we look at putting aside to maintain this gift? Because, you know, we don't wanna, like, so many times, you know, we get a gift and then all of a sudden our priorities start shifting and we forget about what the assets that we have. Is there like, how much does it cost to run? Do we have any of that?
Gotta ask Greg
I think
that.
that's, might have been addressed, I think it's in Greg's report partly, right? Or we could ask him that during his report, because he's definitely thought about that.
I'm gonna just take a guess that it's not gonna cost any money and it costs to maintain the kiddie pool,
Okay,
maybe even less.
thanks.
Yeah, and my question is about, like, looking at the picture that we have here, it looks nice. Now, this being in the same footprint, it's gonna be within the fenced area of the, so it's
Yeah.
gonna be operated as part of
Yep.
the pool,
Yep.
which was my impression, I just wanted to, you know, bring that forward.
It's staying within the fence.
Yeah, yep, so it'll be open like pool hours, I take
Yep.
it, staff just along with the others, okay?
Thank you.
I
Councilmember?
just wanna add
Yeah.
that the mayor said that if we get this open this year, he'll be the first to run for it.
Well, you jumped ahead of my question, is that there would be no age limit.
No age.
Okay.
You're gonna run in the suit.
We'll figure that out when we get there.
I am also very happy to see that there's some buckets on here,
Yes.
to be honest, because when I had asked some young constituents, you know, for input, that was one thing that they said.
The
was
original
buckets.
design didn't have them, and I said, you
Okay.
gotta have buckets.
No, thank you. That's primo.
Also, for what it's worth, I have 3 girls that will resist, but will run through it with me.
Yes.
Dad,
At least once, yes.
Does the $430,000 include, is there any demolition? Does the existing structure have to be demolished?
I'll let Greg talk about that.
That's another one.
So the demolition will be done by our DPW crew, so that won't, that in and of itself won't incur a cost, but there are some other costs that DPW will incur, the new water service and sewer line. But we'll talk more, as the mayor mentioned, at the next meeting, with some concrete numbers and actions from the council.
So there will be some things that the city has to do.
Those have been working through the process, not just recently, but as they've been developing the project. But trying to get it, like I said, distilled into a motion that the council can review and see whether the DPW will need to do, how will the splash pad be essentially ordered and delivered, constructed and installed. All those things are still close to being finalized for that the council can approve it, and that question will be addressed in that motion as well.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask
You
one
already
more.
had your 2.
It's a max, that's what we're doing?
Sorry?
It's just a max, too, okay, because that could be it for the whole meeting. So I just wanted to clarify, because I thought I heard you say at the beginning of your presentation that this is an actual, or a rendering of the actual park as designed, right? Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I heard that correctly.
Pad.
Oh, right, pad, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, yes.
Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for presenting. Thank you even more for making this happen. And as you said at the beginning, I think this could be a model of partnerships that can make the community better for everyone involved and for everyone that lives here. And since I've been in Oneonta, it's been a very generous community, not just that my family's experienced, but others have as well. And here's another example of it. So thank you for doing this and making this possible. not leave.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go on to the administrator's report.
Thank you, Mayor.
Nice meeting you too. Take my hat. Don't want to forget that.
Just to run through the highlights of the report I emailed to the council. A few spotlights this week. The building maintenance crew is working with the contractor, the fire department, to replace flooring, is included in the budget. One item that's on our discussion later tonight, I won't get into too much right now, is Water Street solid waste collection, so we'll talk a little bit more about potential, the potential considerations of an agreement with Casella for leasing the area on 47 Market Street next to the stair tower for compactors, but we'll talk about the details a little later. Urban Forest Management, we do have a presentation I'd invite everyone to attend this Thursday at the Environmental Board right here at Council Chambers, 5:30 p.m. That presentation is by Davy Group, which is the consultant that prepared the tree inventory and urban forest management plan that was budgeted in last year's budget. That's been completed. We'll have a presentation on that. It'll be very interesting to hear. They'll be joining us by Zoom, which would be nice we've made some improvements. I'll throw in there. The audio recording, I'm told, is much improved from where it was. So thank you to Carrie, coordinating with Osceola Media for making that happen. Let's see, Arbor Day, you mentioned Arbor Day. The mayor mentioned Arbor Day this Friday, 11 a.m. at Greater Plains School. Feel free to come down. Dan's making a big speech. See how he does compared to Scott last year. He did a great job. Stormwater management, DPW is doing some tree removal along the backside of the creek walls along Oneonta Creek. So if you drive down Fair Street, you look left or right, grass areas that we mow there. We're removing those so we don't have roots pushing on the wall. DPW will be installing a split rail fence along there to provide a barrier in addition to the stone wall that's there now. Parks and Rec updates. Water and sewer service caps for the lower pool splash pad are complete, so that's the first step that we've done. The contractor is telling us to do that. Mowing season is underway, despite the snow falling there today. Baseball, softball field prep continues. We're working on some repairs to the Jamaski field irrigation system in advance of the outlaw season. DPW is planning for some renovations to the lighting in the building itself, the Ewald Large Pavilion. We hope to be able to give it some better pricing. We're getting, we'll be able to do both the Ewald Large Pavilion and the Wilbur Large Pavilion. Under the law enforcement prosecution section, you will recall the city entered an agreement a couple of years ago with the county prosecutor, county DA's office to act as the city prosecutor. There's a particular ADA, Brett Cowan, who's been acting in that capacity, doing a great job from all accounts. Recently, as part of that agreement, the city would reimburse, I think it's 80% of the ADA's costs and 100% of an administrative assistant's legal clerk's costs. That legal clerk position is vacant, and in consultation with Chief Woodsenberg, we've determined we want to try a different arrangement where rather than the county providing that service, we provide that assistance to the ADA with our own staff in OPD. So that will likely result in some cost savings. There may be at times, depending on the workload, some overtime incurred, but on the whole, it'll be a net savings to the city. We'll see if that works out. So I want to thank our admin staff at OPD and Chief Woodsenberg and the ADA's office for working well together on that. Traffic control, we'll have some guide rail installation on St. Mary's Road up behind the hospital. Capital improvement projects I attached, and I'm not going to go through these tonight. I just kind of wanted to share these with the council now to peruse at your leisure. Next week's finance committee will have a discussion about the overall Market Street transportation improvements and DRI budgets, which as those are all wrapping up, we want to go through the final numbers, maybe some budget transfers to shift some monies around. These were put together between Ginny and Judy and the team to provide some visual aids. Somewhat simple, and we'll be displaying these at our Market Street Transit Hub grand opening next Tuesday. And again, that's gone out in a press release. You've all seen that. I'll just remind everybody, Tuesday, April 28th from noon to 4 p.m. Stop by anytime, don't stay the whole time, before you can. There'll be food trucks. We'll have some bands from the colleges that will be there. We'll have some state funding agency representatives there, Mayor Butterman, hopefully the whole council, all the staff that have been involved in this project. Will come down, have a bite to eat, there'll be ribbon cutting at 2 o'clock, and we'll be able to celebrate the success of the DRI and Transit Center being pretty much completed, a few punch list items remain. So again, we'll be talking in more detail about that final budget outlook at the next finance. And I would also mention, as it's included in here, we'll be issuing, you'll recall the city authorized up to $7.5 million in serial bonds to support the overall Market Street improvement project. We'll be issuing just under $6.3 million, so we're coming in under budget overall on the project. There will also be lumped in with that, and Jamie will talk more about this, the finance, an additional $1.1 million bonding for the River Street water main replacement project that happened several years ago. So they're issuing the bonds together to save on the closing costs. So that was all I had tonight. Unless there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions? Councilmember Marks?
Okay, yes, I do have a question under the Parks and Recreation. Planning for Naval Park Large Pavilion building renovations and lighting replacement, and then possibly a budget permitting, the same would possibly be done at the Wilbur Park Large Pavilion on upper level. Actually, we had a discussion last night at Parks and Recreation about the lighting that is already there at Wilbur Park Large Pavilion. So I'm wondering, what are you looking at as far as renovation and lighting replacement?
I'm going to refer to Chris on that, if there's a difference between the Nemo Park work and Wilbur Park scope.
So we received complaints from renters that the lighting in both pavilions is insufficient. And so we're looking to upgrade the lighting so that we have good lighting up there. You know, you're visible, because it's kind of dark up there at both locations. So, and we received quotes that would probably allow us to do both this year.
Oh. Okay, so you're looking at Nemo Park Large Pavilion and Wilbur Park, but not the 2 smaller pavilions?
No,
Okay.
just the 2 large ones for now.
And the complaints were that they
The
were not
lighting's insufficient.
insufficient, meaning?
Carrie, can you comment on the complaints we received? I know they go directly to you.
Yeah, people are indicating that they don't feel that it's bright enough at night and that it covers enough of an area.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Walter, so, and
Yes.
then.
Thank you. So I have a couple questions. First, about the tree inventory presentation on this coming Thursday. Will they be detailing the recent trimmings that were taking place throughout the city? Is that their purview?
No, this
or-
company didn't do any of those trimmings. No, they've recommended pruning and removals, which may be included in the ones we recently did. I think Chris should nod his head.
Mhm.
So we can include something, I think we have a map that shows where those removals were from the bid.
That'd be great.
We could include that. I'm not sure that this consultant will be talking about, they'll be more talking about the overall inventory,
Uh-huh.
makeup of our urban forest, what type of species, what they might recommend for planting. They've identified potential street tree and park planting locations.
Mhm.
So,
Great.
Chris, do you want to add something?
Are you talking about the trimmings that NICEAG been doing?
Yes, that is.
Sorry.
I believe so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we really have no say on the tree trimmings that they do around the power lines. I've had
Oh.
conversations with them about,
Okay.
I've had conversations with NICEAG about the tree trimmings.
Yes.
They have a certain minimum distance that they want the power lines to tree limbs, and they said that it's a standard that they have to follow.
Mhm.
And so I've expressed our concern about the amount of tree trimmings that have occurred.
Yeah.
They've in fact taken some trees down in locations, and I also expressed concern related to that, and I asked that they contact me moving forward if they're going to completely take trees down. But unfortunately, not a whole lot we can do.
Okay. Thank you for that. That's very helpful. I also just wanted to, Chris, say thank you because I'm a regular user of Neowa Park's dog park, and it's been really wonderfully maintained this spring, and I just wanted to say thank you to DPW for all the work. I also had one final question for Greg, which is that I'm just curious about if there's any updates on the comprehensive plan updates
we've had some discussions about the formation of a steering committee with Mayor Butterman. Judy, I think we're probably looking at an RFP being issued within the next month or so. We don't have an exact date on that, but we've been working with DOS, the funding agency, to finalize the RFP scope. And we'll be coming back to the council for establishing the steering committee, probably in that same time frame.
Okay.
Is there a time frame that you're looking to have the committee formed and begin working on the updates?
Judy, I'm looking at you. I think once the RFP has been awarded, which that'll be a couple of months process, 2.5 months or so, within a month after that, I imagine we have a kickoff meeting, and then we're looking through at least 2027 for the overall process, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, that's for the comp plan, the BOA might take a little longer, because their review time with DOS is longer. But yeah, they'll be done together.
Talk a little bit about that. I have met with Greg and Judy, and we've made a list of some candidates that could be good for that steering committee. And I've already made a couple calls to some of them, so hopefully sooner than later we'll have a list that everyone on the council can see.
Great.
You've got a good list. The goal there is to try to get a good cross-section of the community. Some people that have been involved in the city before, some that haven't, but still have some experience or some expertise to offer. So hopefully we'll have a good cross-section of the community that will be able to present. Yeah, started.
Thank you.
Yes.
I had a question about the pavilion lighting. How is that controlled? Will they, if you check it out to use it, do you get a switch or something? How does it work?
It's got a timer on it. It's automatic, so once the light outside gets low enough, the lights turn on.
Oh, okay.
They're always on in the nighttime.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, thank you.
Question, Nikki? I think she comes from a person.
That's okay. Mine's about the lights, but
Did you?
Yeah, so my question's with Greg. When are you anticipating presenting your report on paid parking?
I don't have a report prepared on paid parking. I know that's something that's on the radar of the Budget and Strategic Planning Review Committee.
Okay.
It's been just one of those things that hasn't risen to the top of the priority list just yet. I'm trying to get to it, but
Okay.
yeah, I understand that the general sense is we're looking at trying to implement some sort of parking permit system, but that's, a lot more discussion.
So at this point, you're kind of waiting for the council to take the lead on that? Is that?
I mean, I think it's up to more discussion between myself and the council, and then prioritizing where that falls on my list.
Maybe that'd be some more discussion on it. Okay, you had a question about lights.
I did. I just figured while we're asking the questions. So my question is about light pollution. So I'm all for making the pavilions brighter because I've been in there even in the daytime and you're like, is it nice out? I can't tell. But so I think the lighting is great. My question is about making having an impact on neighboring, well, I guess it's not as big of an issue in Neowell Park, but in Wilbur Park specifically, there are neighboring houses, and I don't know, I just wondered if any thought had been given to the light emanating, if it's brighter to other places.
So both pavilions are pretty well deep into the parks. Neowell Park is pretty much, doesn't have anything of a residential visual
No, just up
impact.
on the hill, probably.
And then as far as Wilbur Park, it's pretty well wooded, pretty good screening. There's pines in there that screen pretty well. I've never heard any complaints. Greg, you've been here longer than I have. Is any complaints regarding light pollution in that area?
Not that I've heard. Obviously, we heard the opposite from some
Yeah.
must be park users, pavilion renters who said it was a little too dim.
Yeah, no, and they're definitely dim right now. I'm just remembering, I think it was on North Fifth Street, a business that was around there had made their existing lights brighter, and there were some residents nearby who were kind of dissatisfied with the change in their environment. And I know sometimes it can impact wildlife too. So I'm certainly not opposed to it. I just wondered if that was something that had been considered. Is it gonna be something that's the existing lights but brighter, or are they whole new fixtures?
Could be all new fixtures, completely new electrical, all new fixtures.
wow.
Yeah, we had an electrician come in, take a look, give us an assessment, make some recommendations for lighting to the area.
Okay, cool. Thank you for answering my questions.
Any other questions for the administrator's report? Thank you. Okay, there are no board, commissions, or task force presentations or reports at this time. So we'll move to the committee reports, and we'll start with the legislative committee, and that is Councilmember Carson.
Thank you, Mayor. We met Monday, April 13th, and the top 3 points of our agenda are ongoing, but I would like to highlight that we've been working on the reappointment to boards and commissions after serving 3 full, complete terms. The city attorney came up with a different twist to
Yeah, I
that.
read the paper.
And that is to repeal. Don't blame me, blame Nora. To repeal that altogether. So as a committee, we'll just keep working on that next month. And then our last item was Water Street trash, recycling, and waste oil, which maybe we'll talk about that later tonight.
A little bit, yeah, there's no action item on part of this, a little action item, I guess. But, yeah. For roundtable or for the motion?
Yeah, for the motion.
All right. Good, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, yes, please.
Will the legislative committee still be going back to revisit the nomination process?
Which,
Like nomination to council? Because that had come up
Yeah,
2 years ago.
I actually tried finding it myself, turned to Carrie, who can find just about everything. And I'm trying to find where we actually talk about it, what did we actually form from there, so.
Yeah, there have been, I know, a number of discussions on council, you
Yeah.
know, that had led to
About the,
that, so.
about the
yep.
nomination, so, yeah, thank you.
good question, thank you. So you know the questions? Okay, we'll move to the Finance and Human Resources Committee report. Councilmember Walter, so.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. We met on last Thursday, which was April 16th, and we were able to approve the appointments of the 3 that you mentioned earlier, which was exciting. And we were able to review the sort of gist of our conversation, or the overview of our conversation. So we were able to look at the quarterly review for the city, prepared by the city administrator. And so we were able to, sort of do an assessment of where we're at. We talked at length about the position that is on the consent agenda item today, which is for the Chief Water Treatment Plant Operator Trainee position. So we talked about the details regarding that. And so that was the overall main themes, main ideas that we touched on.
Okay. Thank you. Good question.
I do have a question for the finance city treasurer. So I saw that the contract with the YMCA for the operation of the Briggs Pool was on the agenda, but I don't see that moving forward. So I was just wondering if you could kind of summarize that discussion.
Yes, sure. So we had a discussion, and it turned out we had questions for the why specifically regarding the some of the details of the contract, and I can share what those details were if you'd like, but I know the mayor also had some questions, and so what we decided to do was to have a meeting set aside for the with Y director, just to kind of go over the contract a little bit further, and then we're going to take this up. I think the next finance meeting will be going back to that contract for further discussion.
I would love if you get the opportunity to forward some of the questions that you all had with regard to the contract. If you don't, unless you want to tell us right now.
My questions were in 2 areas. One were the length of time that the pool is open.
That was mine.
Would that, if we're extended, would that impact would be
Yes.
why as far as operations?
Exactly.
What that implications would be. And second would be, are the fees attached to it? So it's available, no charge for city residents, but for others, there's a fee. So I wanted to discuss some of those fee arrangements and the accessibility because of those fees.
Okay.
Those are my questions, and there might be some others that
Sure.
may come up, but those are the ones I'm hoping to talk about. Mostly lengthening it and getting more people there. If the splash pad comes online, I suspect some kids are going to want to play with it, and I don't know how to do.
Well, and if I may, so most of the issue is with lifeguards. So if we can get some creative thinking around lifeguards, because I know it has to do with people leaving to go to school, but we have lifeguards that are like students at the Oneonta High School, so potentially we could figure out a solution to that, because I agree, there's always kind of a disappointment in the community when the pool is closed for the season, and then there's like 2 more weeks of summer.
Yeah.
And so that would be really excellent.
So the question is like, how can we make it?
Yeah.
How
a
can we
long
make it happen?
season?
What would
Yeah.
it take?
It's not like,
Like-
should we, shouldn't we, but how can we do it? What are the
Okay, great,
challenges that
great.
we would face if we were to
Yeah.
extend it 2 weeks or?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
So we have
that
a
was
meeting
the
on
gist
the
of our
book, I
conversation.
Okay, thanks.
I forget the day, it's not, I think we were scheduled a meeting, I think next week, this week,
Yes, Monday.
Okay.
Monday, to answer, talk to them about it.
Okay, I have a question on the contract, and I didn't read it like word for word, so if it's in there, please let me know. But last year, the question was brought up about when the Y closes the pool early. Oh, good, okay, so it's already on your radar. Like,
We'll
what are the
continue.
implications of that?
I didn't want to interrupt.
Well, no, that's it. Is there any impact on anything for, like, the fee structure, like what they charge us if the pool is not open for the number of hours that we are expecting it to be? Or, because sometimes the call is made, for weather, and then the weather passes and the pool doesn't reopen, so things like that, where that was brought up to me a couple times last year because it had happened. And so I don't know if there was a solution that ever came up, because I did bring that to the city administrator at the time. But if not, I think we should address that this year before the season, so I'm glad that it's on your radar.
Thank you.
This is
Yes.
just, maybe it's part of, I'm not sure, part of the contract, but will that also, the contract include, hopefully, remember they were talking about discussing the salaries, the hourly rate. Do we know whether there will be an increase to make it, competitive with town or the state park? Do we know that?
Yes, the contract was clear about the pay structure for the, are you speaking about the
Yeah,
lifeguards?
the pay structure, yes.
It seemed like this was, we didn't really have, our conversation, I don't know if you recall it, we didn't really center too much on the pay, too much is about how do we incentivize, right? How do you incentivize for populations maybe outside of student population to get a more adult population to possibly be interested? And there were as we learned, there's limitations to that. So our conversation didn't really pivot too much on, do we increase the salaries or the pay structure, but how do we get, maybe you would think about that if you wanted to really incentivize getting another population. So we didn't really touch too much on the actual wages that lifeguards are getting. They seem quite reasonable. Plus, we also are able to, as Ginny talked about during our meeting, we also have access to some state funding from that provides, I think it's $5,000 towards lifeguard wages.
Okay, thank you.
I did see in their proposal package that they did include wage increases
Yes.
in there for this year too.
Yeah, that wasn't our.
To try to make it more competitive
That-
with other wages.
That wasn't like the point of
Yeah.
issue. It wasn't so much the payment.
But it was
It was more
getting the
how-
personnel.
exactly. How do you
It sounds
extend?
like.
What are the challenges? Maybe pay is a challenge if it impedes the opening of the pool longer.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay. Thank you for the report. Moving on to the Budget Review and Strategic Planning Committee.
Yes, we met yesterday, so it's fresh in my mind.
Good.
We discussed personal service expenses, and our conversation predominantly focused around the practice of budgeting for the full cost of a position that's included in the budget for the full year, particularly when we know, bless you, that for any reason that position may not physically be filled until like later in the year. And we kind of discussed some of the implications of changing that strategy, and I think that's just something that we're gonna continue considering. It took, I think, like an hour and 15 minutes or something to talk about that. So we didn't get to much else, but we do plan to address the admin manual, and what we're gonna do is just sort of compare notes in between this meeting and next meeting. And also get that out to the finance director and the city administrator so that we can have some idea of the consequences of some of the changes that we're proposing. And then at the next meeting, we would like to invite the fire chief to discuss fire department staffing to be able to prioritize efficiency and safety without, hugely expanding that budget because of circumstances. So that is the status. That's the status of the budget
Status?
discussions.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. Any questions or? Okay, thank you for your report. Okay, move on to the approval of warrants. Motion that the common council approves the warrants totaling $420,219.62, and that the same be placed on the finance director's desk for payment as presented. Is there a motion? Motion from Campoli. Councilmember, I think Marks had that one as a second. Okay. Discussion, comments, questions? Okay, clerk, will you take the roll?
Councilmember Roger Campbell.
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo.
Aye.
Councilmember LaPartie Shu.
Aye.
Councilmember Carson.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Marks.
Yes.
Councilmember Matheson.
Yes.
The yeses have it. So for the consent agenda, would anyone like to move anything to a discussion agenda? These are motions 2 through 5. Okay. Can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? Councilmember Matheson first, second. Motion carried. Clerk, will you take the roll?
Councilmember Roger Campbell.
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo.
Aye.
Councilmember LaPartie Shu.
Aye.
Councilmember Carson.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Marks.
Yes.
Councilmember Matheson.
Yes. Yes. Sorry.
Got it, thank you. Okay. Before we move to the discussion agenda, I just want to say, again, thank you for our new members of the commissions, for our housing commission and the public service. Thank you for stepping forward, and look forward to your service. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Next is motion 6, discussion agenda. Number 6, motion that the common council authorizes the mayor to sign a site access and usage agreement with Casella Waste Management of New York to allow continued use of city property at 27 Market Street for the purposes of temporary collection and storage of waste and recycling materials for nearby customers with an expiration date of August 31st, subject to review by the city attorney. Is there a motion? Motion, Councilmember Carson and Councilmember Matheson second. Discussion?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So we keep pushing this, and keep pushing the date, keep pushing the date, and keep pushing the date. I'm not sure I wanna go to August 31st. I'm thinking I want this, because we've been working on this for a while, and I don't think we're really getting anywhere. And then they just keep coming back, want to push and want to push. I would like to have this, in my mind, and throwing it out there, I'd like to have this done before July 4th, because I think July 4th, we shouldn't have the garbage there. So I'd like to have this done by July 1st at the latest.
When you say this, do you mean
The date.
this
The
here?
date.
The
The
motion.
date is it.
Changed.
You know,
Are you
Okay.
making a
So you want to make an amendment?
friendly amendment?
Yeah.
I'll make a friendly amendment that we change the date, that this will expire on July 1st,
July 1st.
2026.
It's only friendly if everybody's happy with that.
Right,
Happy.
right.
Is everyone happy with that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm seeing some nods and thumbs,
Yeah.
some nods.
I just want to know, will that give the users of using that spot at 27 Market Street enough time to,
They've had like almost 3 years.
Yeah.
okay?
I was gonna say, that we had a similar vote in the fall, and, I was reluctant at that time to give an extension, because the time had come and passed. Is the current contract coming up? Is that why we're, voting on this at this time, I'm
End of this
assuming?
month.
End of this month, okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's a good discussion as far as the date. on there, the date was in contemplation of working with Casella on the possibility of the solution that they have proposed, which is they are rethinking it in terms of what they can do or what they cannot do, which has kind of made us put the brakes on it, before they can then come back to us. It was reviewed at negotiations committee 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and then they informed us that they had some challenges that they cannot overcome if they were to move forward in the condition that we discussed at negotiations committee. And so now it's really not ready to act on. So what's going to happen is we're going to sort of reconstruct what they're offering, what Casella's offering to do it, and then come back to the council and to approve whether you want to do that or not. And if it's a no, then you know, that's a no on that proposition. It doesn't change this exactly. The idea of the August date was in the negotiation committee that if they were ready to sort of greenlight the project, if the council were to go forward with it, that would give a little bit of an overlap if they were to say, yes, implement that program, and then allow some time for transition. But like what Councilmember Harrington is saying, that's not necessarily on the agenda yet because there's some corrections that they want made. So that date is not necessarily relevant anymore. That's kind of,
Yeah, you can always revisit it.
Yeah, it can be revisited.
I
So
would
if-
rather put an earlier date and revisit this
Sure.
if we need to, because it feels to me like, you know, like Councilmember Harrington said, this is just being dragged out. And how here we are in the last month of the current contract looking to extend it. I would rather make a short extension and come back and revisit this if we need a longer extension, because I do like your idea that if we can get this cleaned up prior to our big 250th, celebration, I think that would be ideal.
Mm-hmm. Yes, please.
And I will just add, in addition to the earlier comments, I think the question still remains, what are we proposing for that site? And so I would like
When you say
to,
that site, what do you mean that site?
27 Market Street, yeah.
Okay.
And so I would like to put forward to the council that we consider again the work done by Grow America. That the president or the CEO of that organization is a Hartwood College graduate, has connections and ties, knows Oneonta, and I think they would be a knowledgeable and valuable working partner with us. So I would just like to put that forward to the council, that we use this as an opportunity to not only talk about the removal of garbage, but also, really thinking about it as a site of real development for the city.
Is it, are my notes right, friendly amendment to July 1st as the deadline? Yes, please, Councilmember Max.
If we move it up to July 1st, I think we should notify the users that it's a short period of time and they have to start thinking about what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of a sudden,
It's the
they might
trash.
not be aware of it, that we changed the date. That's all I'm suggesting that we do.
Well, but at this point too, it's not all of a sudden, and changing the date, we're actually giving more time, because otherwise they would have had until the end of this month, right? So,
What I'm asking is that they know the new date.
yeah.
Actually, this actually goes to the haulers, it goes to companies, it's not individual people, because they're not supposed to be tossing in there anyway.
That's right.
It's whoever has the contract, so if I have my garbage picked up by Casella and they have a dumpster, I do it's not the general public or anything like that. So it goes to the haulers, it goes to the haulers.
Right.
They'll get notified it's July 1st, where you gotta yank these things out by. Yeah.
So you're saying that it's up to the haulers to notify every individual,
Yep, yep.
commercial or residential that has been using 27 Market Street?
It's up to their individual customers.
Mhm.
That they have to notify their customers that these are being removed, and they have to come up with a potential other plan, which we're gonna discuss a little later.
Okay, the motion as presented with the friendly amendment. Any other comments, questions? Okay. Clerk, will you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Mosher Campbell.
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo.
Aye.
Councilmember LaPartia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carson.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
I'm gonna vote no on this.
Councilmember Matheson?
No.
Passes.
All right, thank you. Next motion, number 7, similar to number 6, that the Common Council authorizes the mayor to sign a site access and usage agreement with Logan's Trucking to allow continued use of city property at 27 Market Street for the purposes of temporary collection and storage of waste and recycling materials for nearby customers with an expiration date of August 31st, 2026, subject to review by the city attorney. For motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Lepari Schubs, and second by Councilmember Moshe Campbell. So discussion,
Can you take it away?
I feel like I'm reading your mind at the moment, but for fear of confirming my ability to do that, would you like to go ahead and say something?
I'd like to make the same friendly amendment as we did the other one, that the date becomes July 1st of 2026.
Thank you.
I have a
Yes,
question.
please. Yes.
So, the last motion failed, is that right?
No.
No,
Passed.
it passed.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I was five.
Oh, you were five, okay, thank you.
I had to count that too.
Yeah. There's 5 to 2.
Yes, that's fine.
Because, I'll be honest with you, I cannot hear our city clerk when she says pass or fail, so.
I didn't hear
You
you.
better sharpen that up.
I-
I'm just saying.
I think everyone heard Councilmember Harrington say he does not hear the clerk when she speaks.
You'll be on the front page of the paper.
Yeah, I want that.
As long as there's not waste water, we're all good.
Okay, so would you use a friendly amendment again for July 1st, 2026? And I see the same nods and
Yes.
thumbs up, okay? Any other discussion? We've already had it, I think, so. Good to vote?
Okay, can I just make one more
Yeah,
comment?
please do, please do.
I'm just concerned about trash. We spent the hours Saturday in the 7th Ward, and we're not even, I know this is off topic, but I'm just concerned about what all of those commercial businesses, where, I know that's another discussion, but they can't just figure that out overnight, where the trash is going to go.
They've had 3 years.
Yes,
We've
yes.
been working at this.
Yeah, but
Hold on. We've been working at this. We haven't been able to get them to the table, can't get them to the table, and we start getting a little bit to the table. We worked with the city is not a municipal trash. We don't offer it. It's a private thing. And if the private haulers have to come up with a solution, it's not the city to come up with a solution all the time. So you have the private haulers. We've been trying to work with them, we're trying to get things going. It's been a slow process. We now have to kind of let the fire a little bit to try to get this over the finish line. And, you know, if they're not taking their trash out and stuff, we have a codes department. The codes department they'll have to get out and, I don't mean that way, but, you know, their job is to get out and make sure that this stuff is going on. And I understand where you're coming from, that's why we were working as long as we were with it. But at the end of the day, at some point, we just have to say, hey, enough is enough, and I think we're there.
And that was my point as well. That is why I supported an earlier date, is because this problem has felt like it's languishing, right? You know, like we're trying to make progress. And like I said, you know, on the discussion for the previous motion, you know, here we are on the last month of the, you know, the end of another extension, and we're talking about it now. Like why, you know, so I think an earlier date will help move this conversation forward in the direction that we need, because leaving garbage on 27 Market, you know, the way that it has been is not a long-term solution.
Oh, yeah, no.
So I think we need to motivate, you know, people to, you know, get this answer going.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, clerk, will you take the roll, please? With the motion with the friendly amendment of July 1st, 2026.
Councilmember Moshe Campbell.
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo.
Aye.
Councilmember Lepari Shu.
Aye.
Councilmember Carson.
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Marks.
No.
Councilmember Matheson.
No.
Passes.
Thank you. Okay, this kind of works well into the roundtable, our discussion. There is, so the lease agreement, so, talk about this a little bit. We had, as I mentioned a moment ago, the negotiations committee, a couple weeks ago, we had a meeting with Casella as far as what they can and cannot do. And it seemed as if we had worked through the particulars of what is it they would be installing. They had some renderings and they had their timelines sort of figured out, but they have some constraints, some financial constraints that they then presented to us after that meeting, for which essentially now becomes a question whether the council will agree with what they can do. They're saying if you can do this, then we can move forward with this particular option. If you cannot, then okay, then this option would then be off the table and we go on to other discussion points. So to me, the discussion is that that particular option doesn't necessarily solve all trash challenges that we have downtown or otherwise, but it might solve for some of it. If it's a solution that the council would like to pursue, which we're working to essentially write up in a motion for the council to accept, because there's a lease attached to it. If it's no, then we'll tell Casella we decide not to go that direction, then we have to start thinking about something else to do. Yes, please.
When we were originally presented with the garbage chutes and the compactor, if I recall correctly, Casella was going to put up something like $120,000, and they were going to pay for the electricity, and they were going to pay for the whole thing. And now, the last I heard was something like we would pay the electricity, we would have to pave it and all of that, and that could be $20,000, $30,000, something like that.
Correct. I don't know the exact amount, but that was essentially the breakdown from Casella, was that we can afford to put up certain expenses, installation of the boxes, some of the security equipment, I forget, I'm not looking right now, but that there was going to be some expenses that they could not take on, that the city would then have to take on. So that then becomes the question to the council is, do you want to take on those expenses to make this project work or not?
Well, to decide that, we have to know how much it is.
Right,
And if
that's-
there's ongoing expenses, if we have to pay the electricity, that's an ongoing expense.
So this is what, why it's part of the agenda right now, is because it hasn't been worked up. That was, after our meeting, we thought we kind of had it already lined up pretty well, and they said, no, we can't really do that. So then it became, okay, now we need to crunch the numbers to figure out what it exactly is, so that it can be proposed to the council in specificity on what that cost would be.
And who does that negotiation?
Well, it's at this point really not a negotiation. Some of the concerns about safety, cleanliness, and other things were embedded into that lease agreement through the negotiations committee. But since they've said we can do X, Y, and Z, this is our proposal, it doesn't seem like it needs to go back to negotiations committee, it just needs to come to the council to approve. Do you want to do this or not? And once we get the work up with the actual numbers, because before it was saying, if you're going to agree to pay these things, then it'll say, the agreement would have said the Casella will order these units, the city will take on doing this project, and they'll reimburse us whatever those costs may be, and we'll work out the estimates. Now it's saying we're gonna have to not seek reimbursement on those costs, so we have to figure out what it is that we're willing to do. Yes, please.
So I got a little slippery slope here is, if we lease the land and then we're gonna do all this work, we haven't done that for other people as we lease them. Normally when we lease the land, we're leasing the land, it's on to you to do X, Y, and Z, we're giving you permission to do it, but you have to pay for a meeting, whether it's our specs or safety, whatever. So I'm not sure that we should be taking on, okay, we'll lease it to you, but we're also gonna build a fence, we're gonna pave it, we're gonna have the electric, we're gonna do this. I think the fundamental question is, do we wanna lease it? And if we're gonna lease it, what are the terms of, what are we gonna lease? Like, and I think leasing land, this is the amount it's gonna be, but you gotta make sure that you have it fenced in, you gotta make sure it's safe, you gotta make sure it's this, you gotta make sure we can put that in. I'm kinda looking over our attorney, because that's kind of our basic lease. And I don't know as though we should be sitting there saying, well, we're gonna take on all the cost, because I'm not sure we haven't done it for anybody else.
I understand your concerns. I just don't necessarily want, we can keep talking about it, I want to say, no, talk about it, but without knowing the specifics of what that would mean, it's kind of hard to get down to resolution of what we can do and what we shouldn't do. So I agree with your concept, what the concerns are, but we don't know what it's going to cost us to do the preparatory work.
I don't think we should, that's what I'm saying.
Don't do it at all.
I don't think we should, we haven't done it for anybody else, I'm not sure we should do it. I think we set the precedents or whatever, I hate that word, but, you know, we're setting some type of bar that I don't think we should set, because now somebody else can say, well, you did it for them, now you gotta come and do it for me.
Good point, very good point, yeah.
The council just voted twice to eventually remove dumpsters from city property, and now we're going to be asked, can we put in, and we didn't have to pay any money to have the dumpsters there, and now we're probably gonna be asked to pay tens of thousands of dollars, so another company can come in and put out garbage chutes and compactors. It doesn't make sense to me.
So in other words, this draft site access and usage agreement will dramatically change with terms of use and licensing, and then what the city's responsibilities will be. This will.
Essentially, yes. It'll say the city is responsible for this, Casella is responsible for this. Yes.
So I'm just curious, what is expected of council tonight on
Nothing.
this?
We're just discussing it.
Okay, so it's just open.
Yeah, when we discussed it in the negotiations committee, it was gonna, we thought we had.
We thought we had a good.
Yeah, we thought we had it worked out. And then the next day Casella was saying, oh, these costs we're reaching a point where it's not a good project for us. Okay, so.
So they turned it down, they did a 180.
Yeah, essentially, but, so the idea, the discussion was gonna be that, they order the units, they prepare the units, they install the units, they build the chute, they do all that. And then we're saying, okay, we're gonna take on the work of preparing the site, but then they're gonna pay us to do that work essentially. Do the paving area, at the fence around it, they're gonna be responsible for those costs. So it's gonna be relatively easy in the sense that we put in the agreement, the city will take on the prep work to be reimbursed, by Casella. So then we could have come to the council and presented to you, and if you wanted to do that, great. But then the next day they're saying, oh, those costs, which were rough numbers that Chris Aguichi and Greg Mattice have, which were just basic estimates, not really drilled down to specificity yet, those numbers in general terms were just too high for them. So they said, we can't do it if we have to absorb all those costs. So now, taking it back, saying, okay, we'll work up the costs, and then should we take on those costs or not? Or do nothing, like Councilmember Harrington is saying, should we even incur these kinds of expenses to take on a lease for a private entity like this? Before it was easy, because there's gonna be no cost to us essentially, so now it's gonna be a cost. What it is, I don't exactly know yet.
I'm just curious, when they say never, when they pulled back on and said that that was too expensive, did they have any other solutions or options that they've presented? Okay. Because I guess I'm also just looking at, I know Brian Shaughnessy had provided a letter, questioning, some of the, uses of the garbage chute and the appropriateness of it for the type of use and operations. And was that addressed with Casella as well, as far as if that's the right fit for the type of garbage that we have coming through?
When you say appropriate, what do you mean? Is that for what Brian
So
said, or?
it's,
Yeah.
you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So it's
Yeah. 'Cause we
not
all
only
got it.
solid waste, but there's liquid waste.
Yeah,
And that was
yeah,
a
and the restaurant
highlight.
garbage, I think
Correct.
specifically,
Oh,
right?
concerns about spillage?
If I understand correctly,
Correct.
yeah.
About leakage, so that was somewhere in the agreement, in that they said two things. One, they come sealed, they do a second coating of seal on it, and then they would be responsible for cleanup if there was a problem. And he also said, that's not just in the agreement, but their standard practices with these kinds of units, every 3 months they remove them, they clean them, and they put them back. So cleanliness was gonna be top of mind for them.
Okay.
But it was in the agreement that they would be responsible, so it was
Okay.
articulated. And if we had then had to incur some expense to keep it clean, then that would be billed back to them. They were still okay with that in the agreement, the bill back on any sort of maintenance that they maybe failed to do, but it was just more of the setup cost that they were getting nervous about. Just please.
But also when they give it back, they want us to incur all the maintaining stuff. Like it's like if the blacktop starts to break, we gotta go in and fix the blacktop. If something happens to the fence, we gotta, maintain the fence. So.
They were still responsible for cleanliness, so one of the concerns that came forward was, people throwing stuff over the fence. That'd be on them, but, right, those other sort of wear and tear kind of things would not be them. Yes, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear from either Greg or Chris about this in terms of, do you have a sort of theory as to why they did that kind of switch so quickly? Did they just go back and figure, like, they looked at the books and said, there's rising costs everywhere, and therefore this is going to be not advantageous to us to do this?
Yeah, I'm not in their head, of course, I don't know,
Right.
they didn't share any of their back, office talks about it, but
Right.
I think it just reached a tipping point for them where they felt the costs to set this up were, a little bit more than they felt comfortable going forward.
They said they look on a 10-year payback period, and if they consider the upfront cost of what they were looking at versus the amount of revenue they get over a 10-year period, the math on their end wasn't working. I don't know what it was particularly. They just said essentially a 10-year period. We don't think we can make enough revenue with these kinds of costs that we'd have to put up front. It'd be so much upfront cost to get the money back later.
So I was just, because I know we had a task force that met, around the trash collection. Is that task force still meeting? Has their work concluded? Were they involved, in this final?
Some of the concerns came forward, and Councilmember Mattson had led the effort on that. If you want to talk to it, you can. It sort of we didn't want to do, how do I say it? This solution was a solution for, there's a number of problems for trash. So the work of the task force, Councilmember Mattson, I'm sure I'm going to speak for him a little bit, and then he'll correct me, is that there are some other areas of concern to be addressed. This was not necessarily going to be the end product of all concerning issues for waste management. But he had some ideas as well for other areas that are necessarily, will be explored and debated, and maybe some solutions, other solutions can come forward. This is just one area. Do you want to speak to that?
Are you talking about my show and tell?
I am.
Yeah. When I was in kindergarten, I never got to
I got a
show
great
and tell,
segue
so-
there for you, so I wanted to kind of.
So the 8th ward is the garbage ward, and I got some pictures that go along with what I have to say. So I've been looking closely at the trash disposal for Main Street, and the council's been focused on the south side of Main Street, where specifically Water Street and Market Street are. This is the one that we were talking about before. I've surveyed most of the businesses that use the dumpsters currently at 27 Market Street. For the most part, the users are satisfied. During the past few months, the dumpsters have been emptied regularly, and there's been no reported problems. I only checked out this during weekdays. I did not go on Sunday or Saturday, and I probably should have, because I have been advised that sometimes these dumpsters are full. But on a weekday, I never saw it, and I go by regularly. As you can see, the area is clean, and as I said, I check frequently. Regarding Water Street, for the most part, it has been cleaned. There is visible garbage receptacles, but I've never seen them overflowing. So this next picture shows that, if you look, there's the elevator and the stairway in the back. Somebody dumped a mattress there, and the proposed garbage chute couldn't handle mattresses. They're just too big. But there is a real garbage problem, in my opinion, on the other side of Main Street. This is the north side of Main Street. If you look at the picture, this happens frequently. There's often overflowing dumpsters, there's trash on the ground, and I personally find this unacceptable.
Is this on an alleyway?
Where is
This is the alleyway between 1 Deed Street and where the History Center is and the coffee shop and all of that. There's also apartments above. So what's the fix? Well, I think there's a fairly simple fix. The city should send inspectors, and if there are violations, the owner should be fined. Here's another picture where it's not as bad, but obviously the garbage cans are overflowing, and eventually the trash falls on the ground. So if you think about this, why do people obey parking regulations? Because they don't want to get parking tickets. The same thing with garbage. If we had more inspections, and if there were situations like this and people were fined, I think the problem would be mitigated. So what I would like the council to consider is asking for more inspections, and if there's unacceptable situations, the city issue more fines.
Yes, please. Is that, are you finished, Mr.
Yeah.
Stephen? Okay, thank you. Yes.
Just a question. I'd be honest with you, I don't have our codes memorized. Greg, isn't code that this stuff's supposed to be fenced in?
Yeah, but, I mean, essentially, you shouldn't be able to see it from the right of way on a regular basis, except for your trash day, you can bring it out and bring it back. It shouldn't be overflowing at any point. We do have, and if you'd like, Judy can talk in more detail, because we saw, Don's documents for tonight, so we took a look to see what level of enforcement we have done. If that's of interest to you, we can talk about that.
Yes.
But yeah, does that answer your question, Scott?
Okay.
So I would say that when I complained about this earlier, the city did send out, that first picture that we saw, the city did send out a guy, and he did an excellent job. He took all the stuff that was overflowing from the dumpsters, cleaned up the whole area, and he was back the next day too, and cleaned up some more. But, anybody who walks down, behind Main Street on the north side of the city, you'll see there's always, it's terrible.
Can I run some numbers?
What are the numbers for?
The trash pickups, cleanups.
Oh, cleanups, okay, go ahead.
Some codes.
Yes, please.
So, we ran some quick numbers, this week, and, we have 7 properties on the north side of, downtown on Main Street, that have had 21 trash cleanups last year and this year so far, totaling $3,000 in service fees. Our downtown has, for this year, let me back up. Last year, our maintenance part-time person left us in July. So those numbers for 2025 only go through July. And then he just started again this winter. So our priority has been the downtown because we've had these messes. And that's obviously what we hear about the most. So 21 cleanups on 7 different properties. In total, in 2025 and so far this year, we've done over 40 cleanups, trash removals on 21 buildings. Or I'm sorry, 2025 was 40, 2026 so far has been 21 trash removals, and that's not counting everything else that our maintenance person is working on. We also have 3 more for the north side of Maine that have not been logged in yet, and our maintenance guy was just sending updates, and there'll be a couple more just from tonight. So we're out there doing our best, but there are obviously these certain buildings are not, we have one that had 7, one that had 4, 2 that have 3 in that section. So it's an ongoing problem that we're battling constantly.
So Judy, I just ask you a question. So when you say pick up, the city staff is actually picking up the trash?
We have a part-time person
Okay.
that goes out and he does the sidewalks and mowing and trash
And I know
pickup.
the
and-
big bellies on Main Street, but also if there's a,
Not the big
Oh,
bellies.
not the big bellies.
I'm talking about people's private properties, trash that you can see that's a mess. So it's Water Street, Main Street, all over the
could be
city.
anywhere in the city.
Yeah.
If you receive a complaint?
If we go out and look,
Mhm.
our staff levels have been a little bit off in looking lately, that we're resolving that, and with our part-time person back, sort of 2 to 3 days a week, working on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My question is about
Yes.
the fees
Okay.
that we're assessing, when that happens. I don't know if you have the information with you on that. But
Yeah, I
I'm just curious about what it looks like from an enforcement perspective. What is the landowner?
Well, they range from, it depends on the time and the length of time it takes. Some of these are
Okay.
125. Some of the bigger ones are larger properties, which or larger cleanups, if I said the properties you would know, and I don't want to have to point them out.
Sure.
But one was 1,000. Our
Wow.
total on this list, and again, this was a real quick snapshot, it's just under $11,000 for last year and this year.
And they can pay to have a
Some of
shooting
them are
school.
800 and something, some are 125.
Okay, and that's addressed in the fee schedule, so maybe that's something that could be looked at, just because like potentially for like second offense, maybe we could increase the fee, yeah, please.
Remember, when you're talking about fines, it has to go to city court.
Right,
So that
fees,
would be tickets, city court, they're contested, trial.
yes,
If it's fees, because we have the person who goes out and does the work, and then we charge them for doing the work to do it, that's a different thing, and then it gets added on to the bill.
right,
We do not have the power to fine people
right.
for trash.
Did I
Would
say
be-
fine? It's
The-
like the fee schedule.
There has to be, yeah, you can look at fee schedule as long as the fees.
Right,
Then
okay,
then we're on the same page.
okay, good, yeah, yes, oh, sorry, it's not me.
Councilmember Carson, and then
So maybe the clarification is that what Judy was talking about is when they send staff out to do the cleanup, that's part of the fee, right?
Right,
But the citation, I think, is what you were getting at, and that's what I was curious about also, is how many citations during the same time period were given?
I don't have that, so I'd have to find that.
you're trying to escalate.
yes, I'm trying to escalate, so like, if someone has to go out a second time, their fee is higher to go do it over and
Yes,
over and over
you can't,
again.
that's,
You can't do
that
that?
becomes a penalty, you see,
It's a
that's,
penalty.
no.
Okay, thank you.
On your second violation, you see, is what you're gonna say.
Okay,
Please.
but don't we do that with, sorry, we'll talk about that in committee.
There's, yes.
I wanted to back
Oh,
up.
sorry, Don was.
Scott, go ahead, Scott, go ahead.
No, go ahead, because I'm gonna probably change a little bit, because I got a question for David about.
Oh, good.
Okay, so we'll get your time.
Whatever it is, fees or whatever we're allowed to do, I would like just stricter enforcement if we can do it, and hit people in the pocketbook, you know, and you get hit a few times with a violation or a fee, whatever it is, they will clean it up themselves.
The thing is, as Judy just mentioned, there are, work is already being done for
Right.
inspection, enforcement, cleanup that we're taking on, for which we're assessing fees for.
Right.
So that's been done and the problem persists, that might then suggest there might be another solution that we can do that. Enforcement is only taking us so far. More enforcement may or may not actually eliminate the problem.
That's, Katie said, maybe we should charge them more.
Well, that may not be permissible at all.
We'll look into it,
There's
right?
ways to look into it, but I'm saying, I'm not sure that your suggestion is good as far as enforcement, but on the numbers, if enforcement action's already been done, and you're still seeing the problem persist,
Right.
we may need to find another solution in addition to
And
enforcement.
my argument is that if it costs a lot of money, people will start not making a mess.
Okay, so maybe that might go to the fee structure as far as
Did work with
Yeah.
snow ticketing, right?
fees.
No, those are actual
Tickets, right?
tickets. Those are
Those
actual
tickets?
tickets. Snow, parking on the street during a snow emergency.
Oh, right,
Is a
yeah.
ticket, we raise the fee,
You're
people
right,
stop
that's
doing it.
right.
And stop, mostly.
Okay.
So
Yes, please.
if you're trying to get a general consensus,
I'm not getting it.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Trying to get,
for
I'm
letting us
trying to
know.
get,
Yeah.
I'm not feeling
I'm,
it yet, yeah.
I'm on the side that the city shouldn't be incurring legacy costs
Mhm.
for a small section of the city. Before Don did his, what do you call it, show and tell? That's where I have been this entire time, because it was not just negotiations, it was legislative, because Scott's slid it over to legislative, we talked about it. We had property owners come to legislative to talk about it.
Mhm.
They're asking for enforcement also.
Well,
But
we can take a little bit of a head nod. Do you want to pursue more of the Casella option or not?
I didn't hear that.
Okay, understood.
What did you just say? I didn't.
Do you want further work to be done on bring in a proposal that involves the Casella shoot, I'll call it the shoot option, or not. So it sounds like Councilman Carson's not, he doesn't want to pursue.
I'm cold.
AC just came on.
Councilman, our shoes, not what we should.
Yes, I would follow, you know, to me, the discussion began with Councilmember Harrington's points that I think are well taken, and I would agree with them.
That's fine, okay, good. Feel the same way? All right.
I think we got the consensus.
I didn't want you to keep spinning your.
Yeah, thank you. I was, yeah, this was trying on this, and we're good, okay. I can notify Casella saying that this project works if you bear the costs. Oh my gosh, I didn't see your hand.
That's okay, I just raised it.
Yep.
You were looking that way. I just want to clarify the Safeway. We are not pursuing a further agreement.
I think we'll notify Casella that the project will only be presented if they are gonna hold the costs.
Okay. And assuming then that doesn't go forward, is our direction generally to enforce to the extent that we have the capacity to enforce on Water Street, the Main Street alleys on the north side as well, really make that a focus as Judy's talking about.
That, and also I think from Councilmember Matheson's work on the task force before, as far as waste management, it sounds like we need to recharge that and start thinking about other solutions, enforcement, other things that we can do to help clean up downtown. So,
Yeah.
are you ready for it?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. It's in your ward.
That's right.
The eighth ward with the garbage problem.
And I just want to add, you know, one of the points I was trying to, you know, bring up there is just this, you know, as far as avoiding incurring these additional, you know, legacy and other expenses that go along for a project that, like you said, is going to impact a small number. I'm also hearing that we have a small number of offenders who are repeat offenders, you know, with this garbage. So enforcement is great, but what that indicates to me is that the vast majority are doing what they should be doing, so kudos to them. But, you know, we should definitely hone in on those small numbers. But in general, this idea of what is the city taking on, right, to provide these services to everybody? Like right now, for the past several years, the city has been housing that garbage for a very small number of people. You know, and again, going back to the letter that Brian, you know, brought to our attention, and he said, you know, what about the folks who aren't involved in that, like Latte Lounge, they already have arrangements for their garbage. So there are a number of businesses that are taking this on their own. They're responsible for their garbage like they're supposed to be, and we are really subsidizing the garbage, you know, provision for the rest of the businesses while they figure this out. So I think in fairness, you know, we do need to keep moving forward with finding a solution that is going to be equitable to all of the businesses and, you know, folks downtown.
Thank you.
Can I
Go
just
ahead,
make one more
please.
comment? I did take a look at what 4 other comparable cities do, and I just thought maybe they do the chute compactors. I looked at the city of Norwich, they were like Oneonta, they're private haulers. City of Portland does municipal trash recycling. City of Batavia does private haulers, mainly Casella and all of these. The city of Auburn does municipal trash and recycling. I know that for a fact, my family lived there and I've seen it in action. I think what the other piece of this is I did some studying, I guess, research on the practical viability of a shared outdoor trash chute in Maine, Water Street, Clinton, and I couldn't find anywhere in New York State where this is especially when it's external, which is, then basically the bottom line of all of this information is that it just is not effective for mixed use downtown when we're serving independent commercial, restaurants, residential tenants, and it's really only works well in controlled single owner environments, meaning interior, hospitals, high-rise buildings, and which is really, we don't have high-rise buildings downtown, at least not yet. And the Jan's misuse and contamination, when you're talking about disposing restaurants, the liquids and grease-laden waste, and then I looked into other things that maybe we could encourage the restaurants to be doing. So there's a lot more to a shoot. I actually watched videos of them putting together the chute and it falling apart. Not that that would happen here, but I just think that we haven't even discussed what a chute system would really look like and how advantageous it would be for downtown, in addition to the space.
It sounds like you're ready to work with Councilor Matheson on
I
that.
will.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much for doing that.
Okay.
You want to be chair?
Okay, other roundtable topics I'd like to discuss tonight. Paid, thank you. Everyone up, right, paid parking.
I don't know about tonight, but I just thought I'd.
Well,
bring it up.
you mentioned it earlier, yeah, right.
We talked about it in the past, and I didn't know where we were heading with paid parking. Are we going to the street, are we staying in municipal parking lots, how much of the parking lot? I mean, I go back 7 years, I mentioned this before, Katie, when she first got on council, she brought the idea of a permit. And so,
It would be
do we
great to have
decide as a
that.
council how many slots out of a municipal parking
Yeah.
lot will be dedicated for that type of endeavor?
I think we should, I have mixed feelings about paid parking downtown. However, I think a permit is a good first step.
Right.
Considering we have a number of folks that work downtown, others live downtown, and may be interested in a paid parking permit that allows them to park longer than the prescribed times.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily mean we have to continue it, but that seems like a very good first step to consider. Yes, I knew you were about to, yes.
Did. I just want to remind the council that we had a conversation, I think it was a year ago, where the city administrator gave a presentation about the committee that had been convened on parking. And it was, I found it a highly useful summary of the conversations that had taken place. And there were some recommendations given in that presentation, so I didn't know, I think we should probably get reacquainted with that, perhaps.
Right, and that was through the parking task force.
Yes, exactly. It was the findings from that.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm just trying to make sure we're staying on this, moving forward to see what we can actually do or not do.
So what would you like to be the next step after tonight on that? Acquainted with that report? Okay. And then,
Revisit.
okay. Anything else attached to that, or start with the report, get back into it? Yes.
So if we're gonna, any kind of parking, whether it's paid or what we're doing now, I think we have to have the discussion of enforcement. Because, you know, and how are we going to do it? Because we only got, he's part-time, right? Our parking enforcement guy?
He's a full-time code inspector, parking guy, and our animal control person.
So,
He splits his duties.
So we get him a third of the time to do, so, I mean, I'm open to anything, it's just, you know, I just think if you're gonna do it, we gotta have that conversation as part of it.
I was kind of abandoned, we did pre-plan this or anything, but along the lines of what Katie had suggested is maybe the first step is to decide how many slots in a parking lot could go to the permit process, so that people could actually have an opportunity to buy a permit, piece of permit, whatever it is, to have it. So I don't think that would really be a whole lot of enforcement. I'm envisioning, must be a tag, a sticker, or something that goes on the vehicle, right? So, I don't know how much, I don't want to add more, but I don't think we're adding more. That would be a soft.
I just think we kind of are, because somebody's gotta enforce that tag. You know, because what happens if you have the tag, I don't, I'm like, God, no ornamental in there. You know, you don't get the part, you know.
So you actually get your spot, you mean, that you pay for? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, because there's a certain amount of spots, and you got the tag for that spot. You know, like, say we got 26 spots, and we have 26 tags, but now you got people that don't have a tag, but they're parking in the 26 spots that are designated for
Well,
You still gotta enforce it.
so the way, I guess maybe the way I look at the permit is that it gives you the full day, whereas someone who parks there without that permit would have to move.
Well, you have to enforce that. You're gonna have to have.
Yeah, you have to
somebody
enforce
go-
it, right, yeah.
That's what I'm just saying, that we have to have that, at the same time we're doing that, you have to think how we're gonna enforce it. Because no matter what we do, we're gonna add more work on to some department, whether it's, we're gonna make the police department go out, as well as our parking, or,
If I understood right, when I was asking Greg about how this would work, is that the technology is that you scan the tag and the license plates, and so the person would register their license plate, and then it'd be simply just scanning it, and if the license plate is registered as a permit, then they're good to go. If they're not, then the clock ticks. So it could be, I don't know if it's not like the guy with the chalk anymore, I think, is the idea, is that what you're thinking?
no, but even if you're carrying the scan, you gotta physically
Yeah,
scan
you do,
that
yeah.
stuff, so somebody's gotta do that.
Mhm.
So somebody, you're gonna have to have somebody that's gonna be able to go and enforce
I,
that. That's what I'm
I don't
saying.
know, considering the number of complaints I received about parking tickets, it sounds like he's working.
Oh, I'm not saying he's not, but I'm just saying you're now gonna add on extra, no matter what we do, you're gonna add on extra duties.
Yeah, it
Is what I'm saying, so if he's only here like a third of the time,
Mhm.
you're only enforcing it a third of the time.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault, because we gotta do other stuff, so. And then, so what does that look like, and then, you know, I'm for it, it's just how do we, you gotta make sure that we're fair.
Yeah, the question
If
is.
I'm paying for it, but I never get to park there because somebody else can park there.
The questions of how are the ones I think need to be answered by the committee or subcommittee, or how it works, because those are questions that we need to figure out how we're gonna do those things. So, because it seems like there's a meeting of the minds in that we wanna implement some sort of a permitting process and see how that would work. And how we create it, how we enforce it, how we manage it, are questions that we need to answer. So that, I wasn't here, that committee report was last year?
Yep.
Yeah. Very
No, Greg's getting ready to send it right now.
Who was on the committee? You were on?
No, I had a question.
Go ahead.
Currently, did the police officers enforce parking regulations now, other than the parking guy?
Does the police department, or is it just the
Right,
parking
the police
enforcement?
department, do they issue parking tickets currently?
I think they do. I'm getting a nod from finance that they do.
They do?
Okay, thank you. So do you want to bring this for roundtable next, with the report in hand, to talk about how that would inform our next steps?
Can I ask for our next step,
Mhm.
the next round table, can we get some statistics on how many parking tickets get issued by both our parking enforcement officer and the police department?
Yeah.
Kind of help try to, and then seems like what's our trouble area, not trouble areas, but in our parking lots and stuff that we have now to help try to guide us a little bit of where we might want to try to do some other parking, tags or whatever you call it, I forgot.
Yeah, so it sounds like the report that was done last year is a starting point with some maybe add-ons with some other data
It
points.
might be in there too, I can't remember, I know Rick's gonna throw something at me, but it was in one of the discussions where we were talking about it once.
Yeah, I can put this all together.
He's got it covered. Yeah. So, okay, so we'll put this as a bullet item for the next roundtable at the next meeting, and we'll start with the report that was done last year, and then essentially revive that and inform decision-making on the how of to make it work for future meetings and decisions for the council. Does that sound good? Okay, other roundtable discussions you want to bring up now? Yes, please.
Yes, this could probably be an email, but I wanted to just ask about the population of the ADA and the Ethics Committee. I know you started this meeting by telling me that you're super busy.
I did.
You did. But,
That was a long time ago.
yeah, exactly. Just keeps going. So,
Yeah.
yeah, they're both just very important and don't have any members as far as I know, so it's all you.
If I understand correctly, and I might be wrong on this, so tell me.
Oh, right.
The ethics has to
That's
come
right.
from nominations, right?
That's right, yeah.
So,
That's right, it's not all you. I stand corrected. Yes, we had a referendum about
Right.
that, and it passed.
Mhm.
So we have work to do, I guess.
this is, I think, maybe a good reminder for each of the council members to send me a nomination from your ward for a member for the ethics committee,
Sounds good.
as passed last year. Thank you for bringing that up.
Sure.
And it did pass, yep.
Okay.
So please send me a
It passed.
nomination. And then on
The
my
88
part,
committee.
I did follow up on the 88 to get some appointments for that.
Cool.
I had spoken to prior mayor Mark Drenick about some of the conversations he had about getting it going, so.
Okay, thank you.
And actually with the ADA specifically, I had shared a number of names, you know, with the former mayor, so I can connect you to you. I have some ideas as well. And I thought we had at least somebody who had been nominated, but.
There was one person that he brought
That's-
forward.
That's what I thought. Okay, thanks.
So we have one member? Or
Mm,
they never, we do?
Yeah,
They signed
one
up.
person was.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was Megan, right?
Starring.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Do you remember? I wrote notes for like, oh, talk about this later, because we have the nice round table.
Sure, I'm glad you're making it. Yes, please, go ahead.
So, I was going to just raise the issue of having Grow America as a potential source, again, a resource that we should, I think, have another discussion and
Mhm.
revisit the potential to work with them.
So, your timing is really good on that, because he just sent an email and he's coming to town
Oh,
very soon. And he offered to come by and talk more about what's going on. So I'll forward you the email if you'd like to come and meet with him, that'd be good. From my view though, I think it would be most productive to have a strategic plan adopted and then the housing improvement following on that. Which is, as we talked before, my goal was to have what we took from the workshop meeting last month, for me to present a draft for you on a strategic plan for debate, discussion, and hopefully adoption before budget starts.
Excellent.
And then using that document as a guiding document for discussions like with Grow America or other initiatives that we want to take on. So I don't want to necessarily jump into Grow America without that document first to say that this is a priority among other priorities, which ones are we going to go after. So anyway, it's still good to have conversations with them, and since he said he's coming through for a meeting, he said he'd be willing to stop by and talk to us and sort of update us on what they're doing. So it's still worth it to have those conversations with them, even if we're not necessarily ready to commit with them yet, but we're getting close.
great. Thank you.
I don't, it's something else also. I don't remember the date, but it's,
Oh, super. Is this the CEO?
I want to say his name was
Kevin.
Kevin.
Spoke with us?
Yep.
Yes.
Managing director.
He's not the Oneonta Crowd, though.
No, it's,
The CEO.
you know, Hartwick.
Hartwick.
Yes.
So, apologies.
Hardwick, which is a college in Oneonta.
I'm familiar with it.
Yes. Yeah, I just thought, it was just today or yesterday, the email, yeah, it's coming through,
Please.
so.
Sorry? What was that?
The email came yesterday, maybe, or today. I'll forward it to you, the
Thank
date that he's coming through.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other,
Can I just circle
on the
back?
notes?
Yeah, can I circle back to the garbage just for 1 second?
Please do,
So,
yes.
so it brought to mind the unnecessary nuisance, it's called nuisance alarms, or unnecessary alarms. And we had talked about it in legislative committee, which basically was that the fire department had been responding routinely to a lot of the same sort of repeat offenders, right? And so I looked that up, and basically what we did was define what frequency allows it to be a nuisance, and then it is just a fee in the fee schedule. So once it triggers that code to be a nuisance fire alarm, then there's a fee attached. And so maybe the legislative committee would wanna look at something for like nuisance garbage, tie it to public health, and attach a fee to it. That's my suggestion, so I just wanted to throw that out before I forget it, 'cause I
Thank you.
yeah.
It's kind of funny, because that's actually my question to Dave was, because it escalates in that fee structure. Can it escalate in that fee structure?
One of the reasons that we have, that it's our position is justified in the call out of the false alarms, is that there is no way that we are compensated for a false alarm if you go out and you get 100 products. The turnout cost, I think, is something closer to $1,500 or $2,000, something like that, per call. So we're not really charging people every time that there's a call. Whereas with garbage, when we send out a part-time person to do it, and then we charge them for doing it, and we charge them 50% administrative fee, it becomes more difficult. That then becomes, we're finding them guilty instead of giving them a ticket and giving it to city court. That may be something that we still may want to do and aggressively ticket them. But if we do it as an admin fee, there has to be some correlation, as Len will tell you, between what we charge for an admin fee and what the actual cost of enforcement is. So that's the difference.
Thank you.
Sounds like a fun discussion.
It is, yes.
Okay, last call. All right, hearing none, we're moving on. Thank you for the roundtable, another good session. I think we're almost there. As another reminder, it's good that we have these roundtable discussions. I think if you have an idea that Commissioner Monaghan can take notes and come forward. But if there's something that you want to put on the agenda that's not necessarily an action item, you want me to put on the bullet, I would love for you to send me an email. I'll put it on the agenda as a bulleted item for roundtable, so that other members can see, maybe prepare accordingly for a discussion that might be helpful for everyone. But good discussion tonight, thank you. Now we're on to the second opportunity for petitioners, and we have one.
Yes.
I know your name, but I don't think anyone else does.
Yes,
So if
Kathy
you could.
Parati, 61 Chestnut Street, Oneonta. So I have three very fast things. The first relates to the garbage discussion, since I'm right here, and I know it's not a two-way discussion, so I am just gonna throw this out in the spirit of creative problem solving for you guys to consider, recognizing that I don't know the regs, the regulations, okay? That, when I saw the show and tell of Mr. Matheson, I did not see evidence of scofflaws. What I saw was not enough empty receptacle space. When I saw the south side of Main Street picture, I saw a nice row, a lot of dumpsters that were neat and closed. And when I saw the north side, I saw trash cans, and I think just one dumpster, maybe I missed it. So to me, like if you have in your home a trash receptacle, a wastebasket or anything that's overflowing, you either have to empty it more often or get a second receptacle or get a bigger receptacle. So I would urge consideration rather than having a fee that is punitive, which might make people more careful how they pack it, but doesn't really make people have less garbage, or businesses have less garbage. So my thought is that if there is a fee, which I appreciate, that fee could perhaps be used to pay for another big dumpster or a bigger dumpster, and I know it was crowded, but maybe find a better configuration or a more vertically big dumpster. That's one thing. The second thing is, I understand you now are transmitting these meetings to people at home, if I understand that correctly. And I wanted to say thank you, because to me, that is the highest priority, the communication in both directions between community and you all. That is the most urgent thing you need to be doing, and I brought it up. And you promised me, Terry, that it would be by April, and this is April, and you did it, so thank you all. And the third thing is, with respect to communication, I was honored to be present when you did your Elks Club, your community conversation at the Elks. And you said there would be another one in May, and if there is, I'm not aware of it, so I just wanted to throw that out, that I'm waiting to hear when that will be. That's it, that's all I got.
Sure.
You still have like 45.
Was that 3 minutes?
It was a fast 3 minutes,
Uh-oh.
but thank you.
Thank you all.
Yes, the next community conversation will be announced shortly. It was, I don't have the date yet, time yet, but I'm aiming to do it at the Elks again.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Caroline Williams from Oneonta. I just wanted to make a quick announcement that the Earth Festival that OCCA holds will be on campus this year, May 9th, 10 to 3. It has been in Milford in years past. This will be the first year that it is on campus, and we are hoping that it goes well. They will be hosting workshops, lectures, other sustainability related activities, along with recycling for what I'm going to say are difficult things to get recycled. So paper shredding, textiles, styrofoam, cork, coffee pods, VHS, CDs and cassette tapes, Christmas lights, toner cartridges, oral care type products like toothbrushes, floss and hangers, things that get tangled up in processing equipment. So if you have any of those things and you're looking to dispose of them properly, May 9th, 10 to 3 at Chase Gym and or the parking lot in front of the field house.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Would anyone else like to? Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, when it's Brian Shaughnessy, 6 North Belmont Circle. I want to say something about the paid parking. I guess when this first started being looked at, I know there was a lot of people looking at it 3.5 years ago, 3 years ago, and at that time we had the parking garage and there was a lot more students living on Main Street. Since the parking garage came down over the last 3 years, and the process is still not complete, but there's been a transition, a lot less students living on Main Street. As landlords, the students don't want to live on Main Street anymore because the parking's terrible. It kind of accelerated after the parking garage came down with students moving off of Main Street. So I've been hearing like $100 a month for a parking permit. I think that's a big number for a lot of the people that are, living downtown that would have to pay that. I think it really, the whole thing really needs to be looked at again. And also the administrative cost to manage the whole thing versus the revenue it's going to bring in. That's one reason why owners of private parking lots are not partaking in paid parking, because the cost to administer is too high. So I know 9 years ago when Len Carson was on the DRI committee, it was identified by that committee that at least 2/3 of Main Street was students. Obviously, that's probably like less than a third now, and like I said, the process is not done. So there's going to be less cars, I believe, in September versus now. So you might want to let the process play out and see where this goes.
Thank you. Okay. Would anyone else like to take this opportunity? Okay. Well, thank you for all that spoke tonight and for the meeting. There is no executive session tonight, so we are ready to adjourn at 7:28.